So, I just saw the amazing Borderlands movie, and man, was it amazing. Amazingly fucking awful. Fuck you, Randy Pitchford. Now, the reason why I said that is because this man wants to involve himself so much in the movie. In fact, he even did during production, so, you know, he gets the blame just as much as everyone else. Also, I don't like Randy Pitchford based on the accusations of him bullying his employees, mistreating them, bullying the one voice actor for Claptrap, as well as telling his employees to their faces, if you don't like the fact that you're not going to get bonuses for Borderlands 3, then you can quit right now. So yeah, fuck you, Randy, you're a piece of shit, no one likes you, and I don't like you. Now, regarding the movie and people who actually made the movie, yeah, I still thought this movie was fucking awful. I just think in general, this movie was just so fucking boring, to the point where I was yawning so much in this movie, which is honestly a skill. Like, how do you have a franchise like Borderlands that's known to be so fun, and you make a movie that's so boring? I never really played all of the Borderlands. I've played Borderlands 2 a shit ton, and I remember collecting a lot of guns and traveling with my brother on the Xbox 360, traveling all over the wasteland, and just having so much fun, just getting guns and just trying them out and see which ones were the best and keeping them. And this movie didn't do anything to remind me of those memories, so yeah, they kind of failed in that department. Now, I also know this is supposed to be its own universe because there are some things different about the Borderlands universe in the games than this one, but still, they didn't get anything right. So what does it matter if they didn't even get the one thing I was hoping for? Well, it does, because that's what Borderlands is. It's all about the guns, the wasteland, the craziness that happens, the shooting, and the violence. That's what it is. This movie was none of that. So it begs the question, who the fuck was this movie even made for? I was seeing online that a bunch of people who weren't even Borderlands fans were just walking into this movie just, like, confused, where it's like, what even is this universe? And then you had the hardcore fans who knows everything about Borderlands, weirded and confused out because of all the things they changed, and all the things they decided to swap in and out, which I will get to eventually. It's also interesting to know that the Borderlands movie was worked on as far back as 2012, and apparently didn't even start filming until 2021 because of all the delays it had to do. And you think for all that time that was spent on this movie, this is what they were able to get? Holy shit. Yeah, it's a fucking disaster. I'll talk more about the story in specific, but first I just want to talk about each part of the movie before that. This movie is rated PG-13, and it wasn't even that violent. For a game about Borderlands, this really wasn't that violent. In fact, there was barely any blood in the entire movie. It was like, it might as well have just been rated PG at that point. The acting, pretty much from everyone, was just fucking abysmal. Kate played Lilith, which is a siren, and God, she tried her best, but I was just bored with her a lot of the times. Kevin Hart was in this movie as well, playing Roland, and you know, let's get the short, funny black man, the role of a tall, stoic, quiet man. Yeah, that makes sense. And he just wasn't interesting at all. Ariana Greenblatt, I believe it's pronounced, played Tiny Tina, and that was just not really impressive at all. There was some parts where I kind of liked it, but not really. They had some guy named Florian Montigny, I don't even know how it's pronounced, but he played Craig, which is apparently a DLC character, so cool. Shout out to the people who bought the DLC. And Jack Black played Claptrap, and yeah, Jack Black pretty much was the only one who even tried with their performance. Now, I know Claptrap is supposed to be comic relief and very funny, so of course Jack Black was a good pick for that. And there were some times where even his performances wasn't even that good because he was voice acting for Claptrap, but it was just not enough to carry this film. It just wasn't enough. Also, Jamie Lee Curtis played Tannis, which also she was just a very bland role, like she didn't even belong. You ever watch one of those movies where they just get like these grown-ass adult actors and like they're supposed to play teenagers and wearing these wigs and outfits and everything? That's what it felt like with this movie. Everyone just didn't fucking belong. Like, this casting choice was so fucking awful. Whoever chose these characters or these actors for these characters, my god, he needs to be fired, or she. Also, Bobby Lee's in this movie. He plays Larry, and it doesn't matter because he has like 5 lines in the entire movie. But overall, as far as the writing goes, it was just so fucking stupid. There was so many times where they just say things to the audience and they talk to the audience like we don't know. Like at the end, Tannis was like, oh wow, I can't believe you were sent away this entire time. Like we didn't fucking already know that. Like it wasn't just explained to us. Oh yeah, they also had someone playing Marcus, which he really did a good job. I don't know if that was the actual voice actor for Marcus, but he also did a good job. But he was also in the movie for like 4 minutes. Yeah, so the main villain was just so fucking bad. I don't even know who he is or like who he plays. He's not even showing up on the main cast when I search it up. Edgar Ramirez played Atlas, and my god, he is a fucking awful actor. And I genuinely hope he does not do anything else, because my god, his performances was so bad. Every single time he was on the screen, I did not feel threatened at all. I wasn't afraid of him like, you know, a villain is supposed to be. He was just so boring and bland. I yawned every time a word came out of his mouth. And it was just like, you posed no threat. You didn't do anything this entire fucking movie, but sent goons to do everything for you. How the fuck are you supposed to be a villain that's supposed to be intimidating, and you're not even intimidating, and you're not even interesting? He's just a normal suit rich billionaire whatever fucking guy, and he just hires people to do his bullshit work for him. Such an awful villain, my god. Like, if this movie ever get a sequel, Handsome Jack is the only thing saving this fucking franchise. Yeah, fucking awful character choices, like all bad. The setting was kind of good for a while. I mean, Borderlands takes place in a wasteland, so they have to have a wasteland or a desert. It did look good for some parts, but then like it kind of just wasn't interesting for other parts, because they also spent a good amount of time inside these caves and then inside certain buildings, and it's just like, this isn't fucking Borderlands, what is this? And it's like, did you guys not have enough time to shoot the movie in these locations? Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the worst settings, but like, it also just wasn't the best. I wish the whole movie just took place in the wasteland more often than it did. Overall, like I said, it was just fine, but like, it could have been better. The editing for the movie was also kind of weird. There was just some moments where it felt like this movie just like cut to black very instantly. There was also some weird glaring moments. Also, the scenes with the flashbacks was also just edited very weirdly. I even said to my brother when watching this movie that, oh yeah, this looks like this was supposed to be a TV show, but then they decided to crunch it down into a movie, which is kind of weird because most people do the opposite. The costumes of everyone was kind of fine. I didn't really like notice it. I mean, the main guy playing Craig, it seemed like his mask was just plasticky and very tacky. Like, it didn't even try to make it look cool. The guns were so fucking bland and boring. Again, this is a franchise all about collecting guns and using them, and they didn't do shit with them. They just were just assault rifles, normal assault rifles. They had the infinity pistol, which I guess was cool, but it's like there wasn't any like wacky abilities that the people were using with them. No like elemental usages. It's just like these guns were just so fucking boring to use. It was just normal guns. It's like the people who made this movie forgot what Borderlands is. There was a moment where like somebody was pushing a cart with full of guns and they're all different colors, and I thought like, ooh, I can't wait to see someone use them, hopefully, and then they don't end up getting used. They just, oh, hey guys, look, the guns, they're in the movie, see? The cinematography was just kind of average. There really wasn't any scene that really stood out. There were a bunch of moments where the main characters were shooting together and, you know, saving each other, stand side by side and all that. Like, nothing really special. Music choices, I mean, they had like one song that was like known for Borderlands 2, and then they decided to put it in this movie when it's supposed to be about Borderlands 1, but also a hybrid between the two. I bet they were trying to get people to be like, oh guys, look, it's that song from the second game that everyone likes, look. Other than that, I really can't even remember what other songs they use in this movie. It was just that forgettable. Maybe there were some popular songs that they used, but I just couldn't care to even look it up right now. This honestly felt like just takes that they had from the Fallout series, which was infinitely more better. Like all the cuts and all the bad takes that they got from that series, it looks like all of them pretty much went into this film, because it was just... It just didn't feel original on its own. It also just didn't even feel like a Borderlands movie, so that sucks. I couldn't say I cared about any of the characters at all. Claptrap was cool and kind of funny, but that's really about it, which is like such an easy character to get down. I really hope they don't like make another fucking movie, because if they do, they better have Handsome Jack. But if they don't, like, don't bother making another one of these fucking shit movies. it's just funny also seeing that Gearbox and 2K on the big screen, like, oh wow, we're really watching a movie about these gaming companies or whatever. So that now it's time to talk about the plot. Oh my fucking god, I just can't even like, I'm not even like excited. I mean, I am, because I want to shit on this movie, but it's like there's nothing to like about this fucking plot. It's so fucking boring. That's the main thing that I want to take away from all of this. This movie is so fucking boring. I almost wanted to fall asleep, and it's like, dude, how do you make a boring movie, a boring Borderlands movie? It's actually a skill. And thank God AI cannot make anything this awful, because AI would definitely make anything better. So at the very least, guys, I can confirm this was not made by AI, because, oh man. So yeah, at the beginning of this movie, they talk about the vault, how it has a bunch of power. It's only on this one planet, Pandora, whatever. And then it's like, oh, only one person can open it, and that's one special girl. And then we see that this girl is Tiny Tina, apparently now. And Roland's there to, save her. They try to escape, but then they end up meeting Craig, and he busts out the jail with Tiny Tina, and they all escape to Pandora. And then on a different planet somewhere, then we meet Lilith, where she's completing a bounty, and then she gets hired by Atlas to be like, or Atlas is like, hey, how about you stop what you're doing right now and go work for me, and I'll give you lots of money. There is a very dumb, boring scene where, like, she just shoots all of his bodyguards so quick and instantly, and then he's like, I see you've shot all of my men. Well, I'm still going to offer you this job anyway. She's like, you can't get me to go back to Pandora, not after what happened with me in my past, and then they don't explain anything, and I'll get to that later. And then she eventually is like, oh, that's a lot of money. Okay, I'll go to Pandora to find this child. Then she wanders around, she drives around with Marcus, which is a pretty funny scene because he plays his ads while traveling, and calls Lilith a Vault Hunter, and she's like, I'm not a Vault Hunter, and he's like, yes, you are, and then she leaves, and they meet Claptrap, and Claptrap's introduction was pretty funny, and honestly, I had hope for this movie. I'm like, oh, it's not this bad so far, it's so far pretty good. Claptrap is claptrapping, and he's funny. He's played by Jack Black, the best choice they probably could have picked, or they could have been Alpha Chads and actually got the original voice actor, but fuck me, I guess, whatever. Then they are still trying to look for Tiny Tina. That's what Lilith is doing, and Claptrap's helping her out, and eventually they go to the spot where they find her house, and she's there, and it turns out she left some traps there, and then it blows up, a lot of stuff happens, and Lilith's like, hey, I'm just trying to take you back to your dad, and Tiny Tina's like, no, I don't want to go back. Eventually some mercenaries come up and is like, hey, we're also looking for Tiny Tina as well because we want to collect the bounty. So they get into it, a bomb blows up somewhere, and Lilith is like, alright, we gotta get out of here. Tiny Tina, come with me, I'm trying to actually save you, I'm the good guy. I'm definitely not just some bounty hunter just trying to collect reward money. Tiny Tina's like, alright, I believe you. Then Roland shows back up in his car because he was gone, and they escape with everyone, Claptrap and Craig and all them. Everyone's here. They escape through some rocks, some tunnels, some things happen that was pretty funny. Some shooting happens. Claptrap helps out a little bit as well. They go through this like poisonous gas fields, and then there's a monster that shows up, and they eventually blast through him, and they run away and they escape. And after that, they're like, hey, we're a team. We're on the same side. So we got to work together to get Tina back to safety. And then they're like, all right, fine, we can do that because we're all against the mercenaries, whatever those people were called. Eventually, they make it back to Sanctuary, where there's a lot more references and a lot more characters being seen. They see Moxie. She's like, hey, I can help you, but go see Tannis. So eventually, they all meet up with Tannis, and she's like, all right, we can all work together, and I'll join your little crew. We can all find a vault together, because eventually, that's what they end up wanting to do. They learn that Tiny Tina is actually special, and she's the key to opening the vault. I'll get more into that in a little bit. Roland, before all this, met up with a friend who ended up backstabbing him, or not really, betraying him and snitching, and is like, oh look, soldiers, they're here, the guys you were hunting. I'm just gonna call them the mercenaries, because I don't care enough to look it up. And they all escape, and they run away, they escape through the trash, and they all try to find the first key, and they're eventually led to this underground cave where they find some psychos, and they're like, oh, these psychos are extra psychos, so we gotta be careful. We can't shoot them or fight them on our way through. And then eventually they fight their way through them. Like at the end, they ended up shooting them all and actually being able to kill them with no sacrifices, no deaths. That's the whole big surprise. There was a thing where it's like, oh, Roland's dead. I can't believe he sacrificed his life to save me for Tina. And it's like, yeah, he's fine. No scratches, barely an inconvenience. So before all that, they find the key that they were looking for, and then they get out and all that stuff. There was a good scene where Claptrap distracted all of them, and it was pretty funny, and he got shot the fuck up. So yeah, that was pretty funny. The main character, Lilith, then fixes her beacon that was broken a while back, and it's like, oh, I hope this doesn't cause any issues, because she doesn't want to work with Atlas. She just wants what's best for the kid, and Atlas still shows up because apparently it was just a tracking beacon, not just a communication beacon or whatever, and is like, oh, hey, when you bring me my daughter, I'll pay you handsomely, and thank you for working with me. And then Tiny Tina hears this because she doesn't like her dad. She doesn't want to go back, and she completely just misinterprets everything that she saw, and I swear to God, I fucking hate when movies do this bullshit. It's absolutely so fucking stupid that someone could just be like, I can't believe you done this, you lied to me, why would you do such a thing? When the other character could have just easily explained everything in like 10 seconds, but because I guess Tiny Tina's a child, she just wouldn't understand it. She's not gonna give Lilith the whole like chance to explain herself. So yeah, that was fucking stupid. I hate when movies do this. It is such a stupid trend. The whole "you lied to me" trend is so dumb. Stop doing it. Then eventually Tiny Tina blows up Lilith, knocks her out, whatever. Then they eventually go to the vault themselves. Tiny Tina's there at the vault, and she's ready to open the vault and whatever. Then the mercenary shows up because Tiny Tina can't open the vault, and everyone's all confused and what's going on. All that while Lilith wakes up, finds a house, and it turns out her mother was working on the planet Pandora. The whole mother scene, I forgot. Yeah, she doesn't like being on Pandora because it reminds her of her mother, and then she doesn't like Tanis because her mother left Lilith to be with Tanis while she was young because they were being invaded. One thing that would have helped this movie if there was a flashback scene to help build character relationships and moments, but that didn't really happen until the very end of the movie. We don't really get to understand the whole relationship between Lilith and her mother until the very end, and it also turns out that she's his sun phoenix god, which, no surprise by the way, she's a fucking siren. Everyone who played the first Borderlands game knows this. So eventually Lilith catches up with the whole crew and is like, hey, I'm here to stop you, because again, Atlas is there to open up the vault because that's what he really wanted this whole time, to just get Tiny Tina to get to the key to open the vault. But it turns out Tiny can't open the vault, and it turns out Lilith is the key to opening the vault, and Atlas is like, alright, open it or I'll shoot Tiny Tina. And because Lilith and all of them are best friends, I guess, she cares about them. They've been traveling for like 3 days at most. And she's like, fine, just don't hurt the child. And she opens the vault, and then some fighting happens, or fighting happens before. And there's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of references shows up, like this one big character, Krog, I think his name was, shows up. There's like another big psycho guy or whatever, Juggernaut, which had a black mask. It doesn't really fucking matter. He dies. Everyone is fighting. Siren, or Lilith, is showing off her abilities. She looks like a Dawnblade warlock from Destiny, using the flame and using it as like a buff to protect people and levitate people. So that was pretty cool. Like I said, everyone's fighting, but Atlas has the power of a cannon from a ship, and he's shooting them all, and he's like, hey, stop it right now, get me inside the vault. And Lilith eventually agrees. One thing to know, whenever I skip over moments that are probably important, it means I just don't care enough to mention it because the movie was just that bad, and then adding it in really won't change anything. So yeah, Lilith takes Atlas inside the vault, and they're in there, and he's like, oh, look at all the power here, and a bunch of floating cubes and whatever. They don't really show off anything. I guess that's the point of the Borderlands vault anyway. It's supposed to be this major secret or something. It doesn't really matter. Nothing. They don't really show off anything. And Atlas is like, all right, give me all the I'm here to get all the power, whatever, something like that. And Lilith sneaks up behind the villain, I guess, stuns him, and takes his shield, because he had his shield the entire time. He takes his shield away, and Tiny Tina's free as well, and Tiny Tina like punches Atlas like once or twice or something. And he just gets defeated. It's just like so lame. It's so underwhelming. It's such a lame fucking boss fight, if you even want to call it a boss fight. It's funny because like throughout this movie there was a lot of giant monsters, and like they were all taken down pretty easily. So eventually like Lilith and Tiny Tina's like, alright, let's go home, because, you know, We don't need to be in his vault anymore. Don't know if I mentioned it, but yeah, Lilith is the key to opening the vault. So she pretty much leaves, opens it back up to leave, and Atlas is left to this monster who feeds on him and fucking kills him. And they all leave, and then they all go back to Sanctuary and light up some fireworks. And yeah, and Lilith is now fulfilling the prophecy of the planet, of the Phoenix sun god, whatever. And they show off Ellie and Scooter for like a brief moment. So like, fuck you, I guess. Yeah, we're not gonna have them in the movie until the very end for only like 4 seconds. And yeah, the credits roll, Claptrap dances at the end, and that's the fucking movie. Like I said, even thinking about this movie, it was just so goddamn boring. Like, I just have no interest in this franchise at all anymore. Like, Borderlands 3 in general just wasn't even that interesting or that good in my opinion. And then they have this fucking movie, and it's like, is this supposed to get people hyped for Borderlands? Is this supposed to get people to play the game? Because that's not what's happening. Like, at one point, the critics gave this movie a 0. Out of 10 critics who first watched this movie, they gave it a 0. Not one of them liked it. How is that even fucking possible? IGN gave it a 3 out of 10, which is funny because most people take away 2 points because IGN likes to be nice. So if you think about it, IGN said this movie's a 1 out of 10. This movie just needed so much more development time. It needed more time to get a better script, and it just needed a better cast of characters and actors. Like, oh my fucking god. What an awful cast. What an awful story. So boring. Goddamn. If you actually want a movie to fall asleep to, go and watch this movie, because I promise you, you will be ready for bed the moment you walk out of those theaters. Overall, this movie fucking sucks, and again, fuck you, Randy. I can't believe that this even piece of shit film exists. It's not the worst movie of the year so far, so thank fucking God. Overall, I'm definitely giving this a 3 out of 10 as well. There was very little I liked, and very little things redeeming this film, and I'm talking very little. But hey, Borderlands, you're not the worst movie of the year, so at least you didn't beat Madam Web. It seems like nowadays people are trying to go back to the good old days where people made horrible, bad, shitty video game movie adaptations. So yeah, that's really all I gotta say. Don't watch this movie, it's a piece of shit. Unless you like that. Unless you like movies to laugh to and to fall asleep to. There's barely anything to laugh to. The people behind me, funny enough, were laughing every time Claptrap opened his mouth. And it's like, damn, it must be really funny to them. But hey, at least they got enjoyment out of this movie, because I probably laughed at Claptrap's jokes maybe like 3 times throughout the whole film. So yeah, 3 out of 10. Tell me what you guys thought about the movie as well. You guys have a nice one.